Before we start the stories, I'd like to greet you a good day. Feel free to use headphones if you want, and if possible, comment where you're from and what time you're listening to these stories. Now let's begin. I used to work the overnight shift at a Circle K in Flagstaff, Arizona. If you've ever worked nights at a gas station or convenience store, you already know the deal. It's quiet most of the time, kind of boring, but also, there's something about those hours between midnight and sunrise that just feel different. Like the air is heavier, the silence is louder, and every little sound puts you on edge. I started this job around late 2020, when the world was still kind of upside down, and honestly, I was just glad to be working. The overnight shift usually just meant me and one coworker. She spent most of her time in the back prepping food or boxing pastries, so I was usually out front by myself, watching the register, handling customers, and doing random tasks to make the hours go by. At first, the job was just the usual. Drunk people stopping in for snacks, truckers filling up, the occasional sketchy guy trying to pocket a beer. But then one night in December of 2020, something happened that I'll never forget. It was around 2:30 in the morning. I was standing near the register finishing up some write-offs when the automatic door chimed. Someone had just walked in. I turned around with the usual half-asleep, "Hey, how's it going?" ready to come out of my mouth. But what I saw wasn't exactly a person. At least, not in a way I could process. I swear I saw a dark blur shoot through the door and dart down one of the aisles, moving faster than someone casually walking in. My first thought was that it was just a customer in a rush, maybe running to the restroom. But when I looked down toward the hallway that led to the bathrooms, nobody walked past. I waited a couple of seconds, still expecting to see someone pop out. Nobody did, so I left the register and walked the aisles, one by one, thinking maybe they were trying to steal something. The thing is, every aisle was empty. I even checked the cooler doors and behind displays. Nothing. Whoever or whatever had come in wasn't there anymore. I tried to brush it off. It was late. I was tired. Maybe the motion sensor glitched and my eyes were playing tricks on me. But it didn't feel that way. About 10 minutes later, another person did walk in. This time it was a woman. She looked normal at first glance, maybe in her late 30s. She didn't go to the register, didn't grab anything off the shelves. Instead, she started walking up and down the aisles slowly, almost like she was looking for something or someone. After a minute, she stopped, glanced down one of the aisles, and quietly said a single name. "Elias." Just that. Soft but clear enough that I heard it. Then she turned and walked out of the store. No purchase, no explanation. That moment stuck with me, especially because the way she said it wasn't casual. It sounded like she was calling for someone who was supposed to be there. After that night, nothing major happened for a few weeks. It was back to the usual routine. Some nights were busy with bar crowds. Other nights were so dead I could hear the buzzing of the fluorescent lights. But the weirdness wasn't gone. One night in January, I was in the back kitchen area cooking food when I heard loud banging on the wall near the employee restroom. Now, on the other side of that wall is the customer bathroom. I figured someone was in there making noise. We'd had people slam doors, fall against walls, even fight inside. That bathroom had seen it all: drunks, addicts, teenagers hooking up. Nothing surprised me anymore. But what was strange that night was, after all that banging, nobody ever came out of the bathroom. I even checked the cameras later, and I didn't see anyone go in during that time. That gave me a chill. Then came January 14th, 2021. That was the night that made me realize whatever was happening at that store, it wasn't just in my head. It was late, close to 3 in the morning. I was at the front counter, finishing up end-of-shift paperwork, standing right by the big windows facing the pumps. All of a sudden, the gas terminal beeped. It flashed a help request from pump number 3. For those who don't know, customers can press a button on the pump if they need assistance, and it'll pop up on our screen. That's what happened. But when I looked outside, there was nobody there. The lot was completely empty. Not a single car near the pumps. The only vehicles were parked across the lot, belonging to employees who worked at the 24-hour diner and pharmacy nearby. I stared out there for a good minute, waiting to see if someone would appear. Nobody did. That one got under my skin because there was no logical explanation. Someone had to press that button for it to go off. The strangest part of that night happened later, when I went to use the employee-only restroom in the back. I was in there maybe 2 minutes when the door handle jiggled. At first it was just a small rattle, then it turned harder, like someone was definitely trying to open the door. My stomach dropped. That restroom is employees only. Customers can't even access that hallway without passing the counter. The only other person it could have been was my coworker. When I finished and stepped out, I asked her, "Hey, did you just try to open the bathroom door?" She looked confused and said, "No, I've been up front boxing cookies this whole time." She hadn't moved from her spot by the register. I didn't say anything back, but inside I was freaking out. I know what I heard. I know someone was on the other side of that door trying to come in. Since then, I haven't seen the black blur again, but the feeling in that store hasn't gone away. Every shift feels different now. When I walk into work at night, there's this heaviness, like I'm not alone even when the store is empty. Sometimes when I'm mopping or stocking shelves, I'll catch myself glancing toward the bathroom, hallway, or out at pump number 3. And every single time I feel it, the sense that something is watching me. I don't know who or what Elias was, or if that woman that night was connected to what I saw. I don't know why the pumps and the restrooms seem to be the places where things happen. But I do know this, after that night in January, the night shift never felt the same. And some part of me wonders if one day, I'll finally see whatever came through that door again. And maybe next time, it won't just disappear. Back in the early 2000s, when I was in college, I worked 2 jobs just to survive. One of those jobs was the night shift at a 7-Eleven in San Antonio, Texas. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid, and it fit around my class schedule. Most nights it was just me and 2 other workers. One of them was new, a younger woman who I didn't really know well yet. The other was Janice, a Filipino woman who'd been at the store a while. She and I got along better. She was hardworking, very no-nonsense, and also religious, the kind of person who would sometimes slip in stories about her beliefs or ghost encounters from back home. So that's the setup. 3 of us working the graveyard shift in a quiet, rainy Texas night. It was close to midnight when things got strange. The store was unusually quiet. No customers, no cars outside, just the sound of light rain against the windows. When you work nights in a convenience store, you know those stretches where nothing happens for an hour, and you start doing whatever you can just to stay awake. That night, I decided to mop the aisles. I did a quick glance around the store before grabbing the mop. The aisles were empty, the seats near the window were empty, and outside, there was no one hanging around because of the rain. Totally normal. But when I came back with the mop, less than a minute later, everything was different. I froze. There were suddenly 5 people sitting in the store. A couple inside at the little tables, and a few more outside, just visible through the glass. It wasn't just that they were there out of nowhere. It was the way they were sitting. They were perfectly upright, not slouching, not fidgeting, not talking to each other. They weren't eating or drinking. No phones, no bags, nothing in front of them. They just sat there, silent, motionless. It was like walking into a room of mannequins that had been placed in different spots. I tried to play it off. I figured maybe they came in while I was grabbing the mop, though I knew it was impossible. I would have heard the door chime, and the new coworker at the register would have seen them. Still, I started mopping, pretending like nothing was wrong. But the whole time, I felt like I was intruding. I even found myself mumbling little apologies under my breath when I had to mop close to them, just so I didn't seem rude. They didn't move. They didn't look at me. They didn't acknowledge me at all. The silence was unbearable. Normally you at least hear customers chatting, coughing, something. But here, nothing. Just the sound of the mop dragging across the tile and my own nervous breathing. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to cut the cleaning short. I took the mop and bucket back to the employee restroom, maybe 30 seconds, tops. When I came back out to the front of the store, they were gone. Every single one of them. Not a sound, not a word, not even the door chime. Just gone. I stood there, staring at the empty seats, trying to process what just happened. I walked over to the counter where Janice was sitting. She gave me this confused look as if she could tell something was wrong. I asked her, "Where did those 5 people go?" She frowned. "What people?" I said, "The ones who were just sitting in here. There were 5 of them. Some inside, some outside." Her expression shifted to concern. She told me no one had come in for almost an hour. She'd been watching the counter the whole time. Plus, she pointed out it was raining. Nobody was sitting outside either. That's when the chill ran through me. I wasn't tired enough to be hallucinating. I hadn't been drinking. I hadn't even been working long hours that day. I knew what I saw. Janice listened carefully. She didn't accuse me of lying or joke about it. Instead, she got a little pale and said, "Don't joke about things like that. You might have seen something you weren't supposed to." She went on to tell me about her own paranormal experiences back in the Philippines. Things like seeing apparitions in the middle of the night or hearing voices when no one was around. To her, what I described made sense in a way that only scared me more. The new coworker, on the other hand, just brushed it off. She laughed, said I must have been imagining things, and went back to doing her tasks. The rest of the shift dragged on forever. I couldn't shake the image of those 5 figures, sitting silently, staring straight ahead like statues. Janice and I ended up sticking close together, talking quietly to pass the time. It was clear she was nervous too, even if she tried not to show it. The new coworker stayed nonchalant, but every time I glanced at the seating area, I half expected to see them sitting there again. They never came back. I'll never forget that night, though. The thing that disturbs me the most isn't just that I saw 5 people vanish without explanation. It's how unnatural they looked while they were sitting there. The complete stillness, the lack of any normal human behavior. It didn't feel like I was mopping around customers. It felt like I was intruding on something I wasn't supposed to see. To this day, I don't know if they were spirits, hallucinations, or something else entirely. But I do know this. I wasn't overly tired, I wasn't imagining things, and Janice believed me. That was enough to convince me I really saw something that night. And even now, decades later, I can still picture them. 5 figures sitting in silence, waiting for something, and disappearing like they were never there at all.